Admiral Rama needs funds to keep her cause afloat. How about we arrange some donations from the DMC?
Over there! Ungwana warship!
A Sambuk!
What's that, Captain?
Sambuk has been spotted!
The wind is ours!
Bring your tits The enemy went ahead!
Habari. Wishing you a safe journey from Sahari raiders.
Where's from the coast of
Habari.
Wishing you a safe journey from Sahari raiders.
You still have some way to go to make your mark.
Ahead of us!
done with them.
To your battle post!
Ship is aflame!
Fire now! Fire!
They're bound to attack at any moment.
Admiral Rama needs funds to keep her cause afloat. How about we arrange some donations from the DMC? Luck can only get you so far. You need to keep hunting, stealing, growing.
Took a gander at Il Michel. A French pirate? He didn't say. No brain, no pain. One day, I will build my own ship.
Oi, don't waste your coin on trinkets and drink. Your ship is your legacy. Measured? You know, you remind me of a tree.
I mean that as a compliment.
Fixed it the best I could, but the damage was bad. I sailed with crates and crates of damn coffee. Whole ship stank for weeks. Disgusting.
Bells, bells, brother. Who doesn't love the smell of coffee?
I know we can do better.
lander is using an inertial measurement unit, which is similar to a human inner ear that senses rotation and acceleration. Flight controllers expect about a 15-second delay before confirming the ultimate milestone, softly landing on the surface of the moon.
And I can tell you just from doing our simulations, that's the longest 15 seconds you'll ever experience as you wait for the final light to turn green to indicate that you've landed on the moon.
And that overview of the IM-1 mission was provided by our co-founder and Chief Technology Officer, Dr. Tim Crane, who's also the mission director on our Blue Team, which is scheduled for landing operations. Right now, former NASA astronaut and Intuitive Machines' Vice President of Production and Operations, Jack Fisher, is in the mission director's seat. His team is gearing up for launch from Kennedy Space Center, where Megan is standing by with more on NASA's role in the IM-1 mission. Megan?
Thank you, Josh. So you've heard us mention CLPS, or the Commercial Lunar Payload Services Initiative, but what is this new initiative? Well, NASA is teaming up with several American companies to deliver science and technology to the lunar surface. It will streamline the science in studying the moon, but also help us all understand the risks and rewards before human missions to the lunar surface and beyond.
Our moon. It seems so close in the night sky, but getting there is really hard. But what if there was a way to change that? Only a few nations have successfully landed on the moon. As NASA sends astronauts back to the lunar surface, this time to stay, we will need to send science and technology instruments ahead of time to lay the foundation for human exploration. To make this happen, NASA is helping establish a commercial lunar economy. For the first time ever, there will be commercial delivery services to the moon. We are enabling American companies to send our payloads to the lunar surface for us. These delivery services will expand our capabilities for exploration, radically increasing the amount of science we can achieve. This high-risk, high-reward initiative will invest in and leverage the entrepreneurial spirit of American innovation to launch a commercial lunar marketplace, advancing technology and exploration for all of us. With this never-before-seen streamlined access to the moon, we will be able to make novel measurements and develop technologies that scientists have long wanted to do on the lunar surface. And as this new industry matures, this commercial delivery service for NASA and other customers could expand beyond the moon to other destinations in our solar system. And we can learn to live on another world because we are explorers.
In 2019, NASA awarded Intuitive Machines its first of 3 mission task orders to deliver NASA science and technology to the moon. So, over the following 4 years, Intuitive Machines has built an entire space program to support these CLPS missions. The company completed its lunar lander in a new facility at the Houston Spaceport, just down the street from NASA's Johnson Space Center. Joining me on set now is Steve Altemus. He is the CEO of Intuitive Machines and former Deputy Director of Johnson Space Center. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Megan.
Let's take a look at this clock. You've been looking at it for quite a while now, so we are 28 minutes from launch. How are you feeling?
I'm ecstatic to be here. Such a historic moment as we get ready to fire the Falcon 9 up and light the engines. All systems are go. The tanks on the lander are loaded, and we're just waiting for this last 28 minutes to light the candle.
So why did you start a company to commercially build and fly lunar landers?
Well, we started a company just because, you know, at the time NASA was thinking about a capabilities-driven framework and no real destination. And so I decided to retire early and think about a business where I could apply human spaceflight expertise in engineering and methodologies to in solving intractable problems around the world in oil and gas and energy, medicine, and aerospace. Well, in 2018, when the National Security Council came up with Strategic Directive 1, which was to say that the moon is now of strategic interest, we turned our whole company towards attempting to land on the moon, to return the United States to the moon for the first time in 52 years.
So we've been talking about your lander, obviously, Nova-C, and your fellow co-founder, Dr. Tim Crane, mentioned that your core group had worked on Project Morpheus, and we have some video to show folks right now. You know, I remember that experimental prototype and the propulsion tests were completed right here at KSC. So how did Morpheus inform what you ended up doing with IM-1?
Well, Morpheus was a terrestrial test bed that was a liquid oxygen, liquid methane lander that actually we flew 37 times, and we learned about how to ignite and to fly a liquid oxygen, liquid methane engine. That core technology is the core technology of our Nova Sea lander. In addition, the autonomous landing and hazard avoidance technology on board Morpheus, while it was older technology, those algorithms are the same kinds of algorithms we use for our hazard detection and avoidance, which is what we do on the moon to land on a place as rocky and craggy as the South Pole. And so we use that technology also, which is a derivative of what NASA produced, but we had in our know-how as we started the company.
And so you're talking about landing. You know, there have been a number of attempts to land on the moon recently, you know, by companies and other countries. Roughly half has succeeded, half have failed. So what has your company done to increase the chances of landing on the moon?
Well, I think first and foremost, what you have to do is you have to be humble about it, and you have to learn from and stand on the shoulders of all those who have gone before. So we looked really hard at every mission that has gone to the moon, and we looked for what mistakes or things in their design that caused their errors, and did those mistakes or did those design deficiencies, are they in our lander? And so we learned from others, and so we appreciate everyone who's tried to go before. But in addition, we bring things together quickly. We bring hardware and software together in the early stages of development testing and test often. And we
You ever heard of sharks before?
Yes.
Yeah, so I was swimming in South Africa and there were like these great whites, right? It was like actually insane. Actually, could you do me a favor? Could you grab my phone out of my pocket, please? Thank you. Sorry, these crutches make it real difficult.
Okay.
Perfect. And then you can just open it. It's 2232. Okay, and then just go ahead and put your number in there.
In here?
Yeah, just anywhere. Yeah.
Okay.
What's your name?
Harley.
Harley, I'm Steven.
Nice meeting you.
All right, I love you. I'll see you later. Watch out, watch out, watch out! Harley, already saving your life. See ya.
And the first one is this. It's a lightweight laser retroreflector array, or LRA. This passive optical instrument is a collection of 8, as you can see here, about half-inch reflectors or mirrors used for measuring distance. So the plan is, after Nova Sea lands on the moon, future landers or spacecraft flying near Nova Sea's lunar location can cast a laser towards the surface, and these retroreflectors will bounce the light back to the approaching craft. That reflected laser light will help determine how close the spacecraft are to the lunar surface, ensuring a smoother landing. So really, it's similar to when you're reversing your car and watching a camera to let you know just how close you are to an object. All right, so for more than... So let's go back now to Houston, where Josh Marshall is standing by live at Intuitive Machines with an update. And Josh, what is the latest?
Thanks, Megan. And if you're just joining us at home, welcome to Nova Control in Houston, Texas. Right now, flight controllers are monitoring launch pad activity and staying in communication with SpaceX's launch control in Florida, where we have another team working side by side with SpaceX to monitor Nova Sea's fueling and launch readiness. After launch, flight controllers working each of Nova Control's 12 positions will prepare for first contact with our Nova Sea-class lunar lander. That process won't start until a spring force gently pushes the lander away from the launch vehicle's second stage, which is scheduled for about 48 minutes after liftoff. After separation, our lander's orbit is called trans-lunar orbit. This enables Nova Sea to reach lunar orbit in about a week, but requires a lunar lander with a very capable engine. Nova Sea was tailor-made for NASA's CLIPS initiative and supporting commercial lunar exploration. It's a pillar of Intuitive Machines' lunar access services, and we took a deep dive into what makes Nova Sea qualified for this historic undertaking.
The Nova Sea was our version of a liquid oxygen, liquid methane lander, and we went about imagining that into existence.
Intuitive Machines' Nova Sea-class 3D printed engine took its first breath of liquid methane and liquid oxygen in 2018 on an airstrip at Ellington Airport in Houston, Texas.
We didn't have enough money for a facility with blast walls and water suppression or water deluge. So we had to test outside in the environment of Houston, where the temperature is about 100 degrees and the humidity is like the same. And we have an 18-hour day, rolling out to the runway. It was brutal, but we did it to get the critical test engine data we needed to build our own engine.
Designed, manufactured, and controlled in space by Intuitive Machines, Nova-C's structure is primarily carbon composite.
We needed to build the lightest weight structure we could. That meant honeycomb aluminum core with composite face sheets, composite struts, and most importantly, linerless composite propellant tank. Man, what a challenge that was.
Between the engine, carbon composites, software, and electronics required to build a Nova-C lunar lander, it took an incredible amount of touch labor to get to the launch pad.
We worked very closely with San Jacinto Community College to create a certification course for technicians, where they would take these certifications. We then, in Intuitive Machines, would give them an internship and test them out in the workplace. And anyone that showed the aptitude to be a really good technician, we hired on the spot.
Nearly all of the lunar lander's payloads are mounted to its exterior, including 6 NASA-provided payloads that will help lay the foundation for Artemis missions. Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University's EagleCam, designed to deploy off Nova-C right before landing to take third-person perspective images. The International Lunar Observatory Association's camera system, mounted at exact angles that could capture images of the Milky Way from the lunar surface. A data center technology demonstration by Lone Star Data Holdings and emteehed Infinity, Columbia Sportswear's thermal reflective insulation used in many of their outdoor products, will help protect Nova-C from extreme temperatures in space.
They've got brilliant ideas, and if we can help facilitate those startups to help build this economy, I think that raises all boats. And it's as serving as the transportation leg to the moon, we're happy to accommodate those kinds of companies.
The IM-1 landing site is called Malapert A. It's named after 17th century
A lot of people compare Subarus to Toyotas and Hondas, but the only other car manufacturer that shares a DNA with this car and this platform is the Porsche. And that's pinnacle of engineering. You can't even really compare those either. Enough of that history. Reliability. The first thing I want to cover is mod. So when it comes to reliability, the quality of your mods are gonna greatly determine the lifespan of your Subaru. I've done a previous video talking about the mod list for this car, and I also go into a little bit of detail on why I chose certain mods. You guys want to make sure that you don't get parts off eBay and you get quality parts. It's better to save and buy the quality part than to buy a cheap part. Let me explain. So suspension wise, so I used to have Rev 9's coilovers. I'm not proud of it, but I did it, and I really wanted to lower the car, and it really looked good, and the handling was pretty cool, but it did not handle all that well in terms of comfort. And so, yeah, I got them off some guy for like 300 bucks, threw them on, got an alignment. The car was okay, but they blew probably a month after. Then I decided to go with another set of coilovers. I got ISC coilovers, didn't really like them, should have done more research, but again, the moral of the story, guys, is this car is your investment. I drive this car every single day. It has about 83,000, almost 84,000 miles on it. So when I hop in this car and I crank it up and I'm driving down the road, it needs to take me from point A to point B. It also needs to let me have some fun. And the only way you can do that is if you have very reliable parts. The driver is probably the most important aspect when it comes to reliability, because you're also the person caring for the car. You guys need to make sure that you are enjoying the driving experience, but it needs to be done sparingly. If you do not drive this car sparingly, it will blow up. Subarus are not really designed to be hitting red line every single light. They're very heat sensitive, they're sensitive motors. A lot can go wrong strong. You're running high compression already from factory and cranking more boost, tuning the car, and then running it hard consistently, it will catch up with you. And lastly is maintenance. So today, I'm gonna actually be doing a couple things on this car. So one of the things is spark plugs. I know people dread it, it sucks, but I'm gonna show you a tool that I use and it greatly helps.
But major milestones like flying at a high cadence, full system reuse, and on-orbit refilling are key priorities. Refilling on orbit will enable the transport of up to 100 tons all the way to Mars. Down at Starbase, we're gearing up for Flight 3 of Starship. We have a fully stacked vehicle on the pad for the first time since Flight 2 in November of last year, ready to go through pre-launch testing to get ready to fly. We're also building a second Starbase launch tower to further increase Starship's
Disaster video is not actually, it's not a disaster video. This is a video of a sequence. We are watching a sequence. We already watched The Legend. The Legend.
You
can heal and I can swap.
Which will take crew and cargo from the Starship hatch opening down to the lunar surface.
Me.
In partnership with NASA, SpaceX's Starship Human
right now.
Landing System, or HLS,
How many names they have, dude?
Astronauts on the moon.
I'm dead to
We are
zone.
part
I'm
of the
dead
global
to.
team, which includes intuitive machines that will further
Dude, how many names they have? They're just like, yeah, this the behavior which they have is very sissy.
Before the Artemis 3 mission, which will be
Clean.
the first human
Look at that aim with an AK.
To that end, SpaceX has been hard at
the
work.
bullet, hit the bullet.
I didn't get your blue chip.
It's fine. And ultimately,
he's running away.
There's so much to look forward to, and it's just incredible that humans are finally going back to the moon. And the efforts of SpaceX and intuitive machines get to play a vital role in that.
That's smart.
For those of you who have just
that guy knows. That guy knows. Come on. Oh, let's go.
Joey owned me so hard. He was left, right, leaning, and it did nothing.
Thanks, Jesse. We're counting down the minutes to launch and looking forward to Intuitive Machines firing its Nova C-class lunar lander's engine the day after liftoff. Nova C uses an environmentally friendly mixture of liquid methane and liquid oxygen. It's a propulsion system with deep roots to NASA's Project Morpheus. Morpheus was a prototype lander engineers at NASA's Johnson Space Center used to integrate technologies for future spacecraft that could land on a variety of destinations in our solar system. The project integrated NASA's autonomous landing and hazard avoidance technology designed to enable a spacecraft to identify, descend, and find a safe landing site that is relatively flat and free of large boulders, rocks, and craters. In the video on your screen, you can see that signature blue fire synonymous with liquid methane and liquid oxygen engines. That's the same fuel used on Nova C. From December 2013 to December 2014, Morpheus completed 13 free flight tests at the north end of Kennedy's shuttle and landing facility. And joining me now is our co-founder and chief technology officer, Dr. Tim Crane. Tim, before starting Intuitive Machines with your fellow co-founders, Steve Altimus and Dr. Cam Gafarian, you were working on other things at Johnson Space Center to include Project Morpheus. What can you tell me about Project Morpheus and how that foundings of technology led to us getting to the launch pad today with your company?
Well, one thing I can tell you is I get chills watching that footage because it takes me right back. But this is a journey that clearly our prop technology was a big part of Morpheus we brought forward. Also the all-hat, the autonomous landing, hazard avoidance task, a lot of our navigation, the way we do software, the way we test our systems, and even the discipline about knowing when some technology needs to wait for a future date so we can get to flight. All of that came from the Morpheus experience.
And, you know, just about a year ago, you got to see those Project Morpheus tanks again, but this time they were in your facility and you were testing them with your company. What can you tell me about speeding up innovation through NASA's Reimbursable Space Act agreement?
Well, NASA really is a national treasure in terms of knowledge and capability, and in some places, equipment. And we had a supply chain issue with some of our tanks, and we needed to get our test rig up and running. And we knew the Morpheus tanks were in surplus, and reached out to NASA, and they facilitated getting those tanks to us so that we could proceed with testing while our flight tanks were coming in.
And real quick, while you have you, why liquid methane, why liquid oxygen?
Well, in the near term, it's very easy to work with. It's environmentally friendly. It's non-toxic. It's very robust to changing conditions. down the road, it's the exploration fuel of the solar system, and we can make it on Mars for bringing spacecraft back from there, so we don't have to take all the fuel with us.
Well, Tim, I know you're burning back to get back into mission control, watching your team that you fostered throughout all these years and listening to that IM-1 mission loop. We do appreciate your time today, and thanks for stopping in.
Thanks, Josh.
NASA instrument on the Nova C lander for this IM-1 mission is the Lunar Node 1 Navigation Demonstrator, also called LN1. That's much simpler. It's similar to when you use GPS to get to a destination. Let's take a look at how it works and what it will do to help support future surface and orbital operations.
Lunar Node 1 is meant to be a demonstration of how we can use various navigation technologies to figure out where you are in and around the moon. I'm holding in my hands the Lunar Node 1 mass simulator. We use this build to test out our vibrational modes, put on a shake table, and also do fit checks with the lander itself. Inside of our payload, we have multiple electronics boards that fit within this chassis that is a little bit about a half U in size. You can see our external connectors here where we have our data and power to the lander itself. And within here, we have multiple boards that do the power regulation, our data control, our FPGAs, all those kind of electronics pieces are in here, as well as a small S-band radio that attaches up underneath this top radiator in order to distribute this heat, and then to talk to the antenna, which mounts here. This is the same size and build as the flight payload. It's just not covered in MLI or some of the other materials that you'll see on the flight build itself.
Now, IM-1 is the second launch of a lunar lander under NASA's Commercial Lunar Payload Services Initiative. The first CLPS launch was with Pittsburgh-based Astrobotic. The mission was called Peregrine Mission 1. It successfully launched last month on a ULA rocket, but afterwards, Astrobotic reported a failure in its propulsion system, which prevented the spacecraft from landing on the moon. 10 days later, Peregrine burned up after re-entering Earth's atmosphere. An anomaly review board will release its findings to what happened once complete. Joining me now to talk about NASA's CLPS initiative and its benefits and risks is Sandra Connolly. She's the Deputy Associate Administrator for NASA Science. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Megan.
So talk to me about some of the key takeaways as NASA moves forward with commercial lunar vendors.
Yeah, so the Commercial Lunar Payload Services Program is super important to NASA. It really is transforming our method of doing business. It's leveraging industry's emerging capabilities of actually providing end-to-end service for us. So rather than us having to build our own, we can now procure it. And it's not only, we're not the only customer. Other government organizations, industry, academia from around the world are all going to procure these services. And there is risk associated with it, though. So we recognize that as we're evolving this capability.
Yeah, so I was just going to ask you that. I mean, because we know that there are risks, and we've accepted those risks. Spacecraft is go for launch. We just heard a call for that. What involvement does NASA have when our commercial providers are assessing the risks?
So what's really important about this, too, is recognizing that industry is in the lead in providing these services, so they're the decision makers. So ultimately, what will happen is, you know, as they're making their decisions, we obviously bring great experience along with us, and we will stand shoulder to shoulder with them and support them through the legal process, through contracts and all, but we will bring to bear what we need to support them to make sure that this is successful.
Sure. So it seems like, again, yes, we're fully committed to the CLPS initiative. So what is NASA sending to the moon on future CLPS flights?
So again, super exciting time for NASA. You may or may not realize we have 40 manifested payloads on the CLPS mission. So over the next few years, and that's just for the NASA payloads, right? So you've got industry and academia as well. But focusing on Intuitive Machines, which is our purpose for being here tonight. We're super excited about their efforts here. So they actually have another payload that's going to be launching later this year. They're going to be delivering the Prime 1 drill and spectrometer, which is actually going to support our in situ resource utilization and support a future human presence on the moon.
Sandra, thank you so much. We're excited to see what CLPS can do for NASA and for humanity, really, with what we plan to do with the Artemis program.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Go Falcon 9.
That's right.
And go IM-1.
Perfect. All right, so let's send it back to our friends at SpaceX in Hawthorne, California, as they walk us through the final moments of the countdown, and then I will see you guys after launch.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Megan. At T-minus just under 7.5 minutes, all systems are currently a go for an on-time liftoff. Next up, in just about a couple minutes, the structure next to the vehicle, known as the strong back, will begin to retract away from the vehicle. But while we wait for that, let's talk about what it takes to actually get to orbit. In order to get the rocket and payload into any orbit, the rocket not only has to go up really fast, but it also has to go sideways. As we ascend, we tilt the engines, and that turns the rocket horizontally. To help demonstrate this concept, an image of firing a cannon from a really high mountain is what you can see there on your screen. The cannonball will arc, and then good old gravity will pull it back down to Earth. As you increase the power, the cannonball will arc and land farther and farther away. Eventually, if you could continue to increase the power, the cannonball will end up in free fall around the Earth. Basically, gravity is pulling down on the cannonball, but it's going so fast that it never hits the ground.
RP1 load is complete.
This arc that constantly misses the Earth is called an orbit. Falcon 9 effectively does the same thing as the cannon in this example, and it provides enough power and horizontal velocity to the second stage carrying the spacecraft, enabling the spacecraft to be placed into orbit around the Earth. Now, you'll be able to see this today by watching the orientation of Falcon 9 after liftoff. The rocket will go straight up until about T plus 10 seconds, at which point we will begin that shift in orientation, gimbaling the engines so that Falcon 9 can go horizontally really fast. So be sure to look out for that after liftoff. Now, again, at T-minus 5 minutes and 38 seconds, all systems are currently go for liftoff. The strong back is going to begin retracting away shortly. In preparation for that retraction, the clamp arms, which are located just around the second stage, just below the fairing, will begin to open. Once those are fully open, then the TE, or the strong back, can begin to recline away from Falcon 9. And you can see that on your screen, those clamp arms just below the fairing there. Now, the vehicle is nearly fully loaded with propellants, and we did hear a call out that stage 1 prop loading has concluded. We are still loading blocks. And there's that call out that we are beginning that process for that strong back retraction. Propellant loading is continuing on the vehicle and will complete at T-minus 2 minutes. The range is currently green and ready to support liftoff. And if for some reason we do not launch today, we do have a backup opportunity on Friday, February 16th at 1:12 a.m. Eastern Time.
Strong back retract in progress.
And good call-outs there. The strong back retraction is now in progress, and it will be slow and slight, but we should see those clamp arms begin to open up there. And there you can see it on your screen. Those clamp arms are now opening up. Again, once they are fully open, that will allow the transporter erector, that structure next to the vehicle, to begin to retract away. You should see that TE begin to move away, very slow and slight. But at this point in the countdown, both the first and second stages are nearly fully loaded with 1 million pounds of kerosene fuel and liquid oxygen. And there you can see on your screen that TE is now moving away from Falcon 9. Falcon 9 uses 2 propellants, a refined form of kerosene called RP1, or rocket propellant 1, as a fuel, and LOX, or liquid oxygen, as an oxidizer. Now, fire generally needs 3 elements to ignite. That's heat, fuel, and an oxidizing agent, which is usually oxygen. This is what's known as the fire triangle. In our case, the liquid oxygen is chilled below its boiling point so that it has a much greater amount of mass per volume, allowing us to load more of it into the vehicle. And in addition to these 2 propellants, we also use the chemical TTAB, or triethyl aluminum and triethyl borane, as an ignition source. The combustion of RP1 and liquid oxygen is what makes the rocket go, but it's the TTAB that sets the match to the propellant mix. And we did hear a call out that stage 1 liquid oxygen loading is complete. Coming up next, in the next couple of minutes at T-minus 60 seconds, Falcon 9 will go into startup. That means that the rocket's autonomous flight computers will have taken over the launch countdown. And at just inside T-minus 2 seconds, we will light those Merlin 1D engines for liftoff. The Intuitive Machines payload continues to be healthy, and the Falcon 9 team is tracking no issues on the vehicle. We are currently green for weather, and the range is ready to support a T0 of 1:05 a.m. Eastern Time. And just waiting for the call out for liquid oxygen. Right on time. Stage 2 liquid oxygen loading is now complete. That concludes propellant loading on the vehicle. That means that Falcon 9 is fully loaded with 1 million pounds of kerosene fuel and liquid oxygen. Weather is 90% chance of
ground gas closeout.
Good weather for T0. And we are just about 30 seconds away from Falcon 9 going into startup. Now that propellant loading is complete, we are beginning to vent out the lines, the propellant lines on that transport erector there, so you can see more of those white clouds around the vehicle. Startup is coming up here in a couple seconds.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
Great call out. That means that the internal flight computers have now taken over the launch countdown. We are now just waiting the final go from the launch director.
LD, go for launch.
An excellent call. All systems are go for launch of Falcon 9 with the Intuitive Machines lunar payload.
30 seconds. Seconds. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition and liftoff. Go SpaceX, go IM-1 and the Odysseus lunar lander. Vehicle pitching downrange. Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from Pad 39A at Kennedy Space Center, carrying the IM-1 payload. Now, during ascent, we tilt the engines, the technical term being gimbaling, and that turns the rocket horizontally. And
Mach 1. Max Q. Impact shell has started.
Yep. We have a few events coming up in quick succession here. That will be MECO, stage separation, SES-1, and then the boost back burn startup on the first stage vehicle. MECO, or main engine cutoff, is where we shut down all 9 of those M1D engines on the first stage vehicle. That helps slow the vehicle down in preparation for stage separation, which is where the first and second stage will separate. And the first stage booster will begin its trip back to Earth. And the second stage vehicle will ignite that MVAC engine with SES-1, or second stage engine startup 1. And then the boost back burn will begin on the first stage vehicle, which is one of 3 burns that's required for the vehicle to make its way back to today's landing zone. And this burn assists with the vehicle to reorient itself back towards land.
Stage separation confirmed. And back ignition. Aid mod boost back startup.
And there we saw and heard those call outs from Miko, stage separation, SES-1, and the boost back burn startup on the first stage. Some great views there. Now the first stage is currently performing its boost back burn. This is where we ignite a few of the engines to bring the trajectory towards the landing site. And coming up here shortly will be fairing separation.
Fairing separation confirmed.
And an excellent view of fairing separation and an amazing view of the IM-1 payload attached to Falcon 9's second stage. Fairing deployment has been confirmed, and we will be attempting to retrieve these fairing halves once they fall back to Earth with our recovery vessel, Bob.
Both vehicles are on nominal trajectories.
And some good call-outs there. And in about 3 minutes, there will be a couple more burns on our first stage to prepare for landing at landing zone 1 at Cape Canaveral. Again, we've completed the boost back burn on the first stage. That's the first burn of 3. The next burns coming up will be the entry burn and then the landing burn for the first stage vehicle. Now we are at T plus
Anybody else been using the internet for a while and noticing
17
major
seconds
change
into
lately?
today's mission. IM-1 is SpaceX's 14th launch this year. On board could be the first U.S. moon landing since the Apollo program ended. You can see on your screen that the MVAC engine on the second stage is ignited, and we are currently in the first of 2 planned MVAC burns.
Chillin' with my English girl, she low key. She wanna go to the pub, got Asian girl wanna come with a tug, got African girl wanna come with a tug. Had to read the news in a party, the auntie won't come with a tug. Chillin' with my English girl, she low key. She wanna go home and just fool, but they hating when they don't know me. You can go suck at your mum. My little good chick with Sophie, my God, take a look at her bum. Had to read the news in a party, the auntie won't come with a tug. Chillin' with my English girl, she low key. Chillin' with my English girl, she low key. She wanna go to the pub. African girl wanna come with a tug. Chillin' with my English girl, she low key. She wanna go to the pub.
Again, what you're seeing on your screen.
Chillin' with my English girl, she low key. Chillin' with my English girl, she low key. She wanna go to the pub, got Asian girl wanna come with a tug, got African girl wanna come with a tug. Had to read the news in a party, the auntie won't come with a tug. Chillin' with my English girl,
The entry burn, we should see that screen light up with the engines reignited.
In this video, I'll be telling you why it isn't always a great idea to fit the OE tyre that your vehicle came with. This video actually started out as a simple test, an OE tyre versus aftermarket equivalent with a snow-rated mild all-terrain tyre thrown in. But as I went through the data from the dry, wet and snow testing I did, and noise and comfort of course, I thought it actually made a pretty interesting insight into why the OE tyre that comes fitted to your vehicle from factory isn't always the best option. Firstly, I should quickly explain exactly what an OE tyre is. OE means original equipment, and for the vast majority of vehicles sold today, the tyre that comes with the vehicle from the factory will have been tweaked by the tyre manufacturer at the request of the vehicle manufacturer to make it fall in line with what the vehicle manufacturer believes will help it sell the most cars. Obviously, that's their goal. What things are the vehicle manufacturers requesting? Well, the number one request is nearly always energy use, whether it's an EV manufacturer wanting to get a better range number or an internal combustion manufacturer wanting to get a lower fuel use or CO2 number for tax banding. It's now a huge driving force behind OE tyre development. What else is important to sell cars? Dry handling is disproportionately high on the list thanks to magazines doing nearly all of their testing in the dry. And noise and comfort is another factor that a lot of shoppers really focus on. Finally, I'm sure you'll be shocked to know that the price the vehicle manufacturer pays for the OE tyre is another important factor. Perhaps it's the most important factor for certain categories of vehicles, which is why you're now seeing most manufacturers fitting
And a great view there. That is we just had confirmation of
Nominal
booster
orbit
landing. We
insertion.
also heard and just heard SECO 1 as well as a confirmation of good orbit for our Falcon 9 second stage carrying our IM-1 payload. Now with that landing, that marks SpaceX's 273rd recovery of an orbital class rocket, including first stage landings for Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy. And with confirmation of good orbit, the mission isn't over yet. Coming up, we do have the second burn of our MVAC engine, or SES-2, on board the second stage around the T+41 minute mark, followed by spacecraft separation. So until then, we're going to send it over to Megan at KSC. Megan?
Thank you, Jesse. And if you're just joining us, welcome to the Space Coast of Florida, where we just witnessed live the liftoff of the moon-bound spacecraft and Nova Sea lander called Odysseus. And, you know, we see a lot of launches here from Kennedy Space Center, but it really, truly never gets old. So Odysseus launched on top of a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket from Launch Pad 39A here at Kennedy Space Center. Intuitive Machines, an American company based in Houston, Texas, developed and built the lunar lander that is carrying, among other things, 6 NASA payloads. And if everything goes as planned, in 8 days, that Nova Sea lander is expected to land on the shadowy south side of the moon. Make sure you stay with us. Our broadcast here on NASA TV will continue through Odysseus's acquisition of signal, which is expected to happen around 1:55 a.m. Eastern Time. Now, before launch, we highlighted 3 of 6 NASA payloads on board the Nova Sea lander. The 4th is the SCALPS payload, which stands for Stereo Cameras for Lunar Plume Surface Studies. It includes 4 cameras at the base of the lunar lander. The images it captures will help scientists understand how landings impact the lunar surface for this mission and future ones.
SCALPS is an array of small cameras that will be placed around the base of a lunar lander and collect imagery during the descent and landing of the vehicle. Using a technique called stereophotogrammetry, we can use those images to reconstruct a 3D shape of the ground. As the lander comes down, its hot engine plumes will interact with the surface. Our cameras will begin acquiring images from before this interaction begins until after the vehicle has landed on the surface. The SCALPS cameras will specifically be looking at the overall crater formation and erosion of the ground due to the rocket plumes. The final stereo images, which will be stored on a small onboard data storage unit, will be transferred to the lander and then downlinked to Earth.
Today we're going to test some prototype shotgun slugs that were designed and built over 5 years ago. They were set aside and lost and recently rediscovered.
A sustained lunar exploration and tried to land multiple payloads in close proximity to one another. SCALPS data will be a critical part of understanding these phenomena and improving our computational models to inform these future landings.
Now, the first shot went very well, in my opinion. The stability of the projectile was just rock steady out of a smoothbore shotgun. I was quite relieved that this worked so well. So many things can go wrong. I could use the wrong recipe and totally screw things up, but I seem to have gotten it right this time.
We are closer to receiving the lander's data in Nova Control. Right now, flight controllers are standing by for launch vehicle separation, followed by acquisition of signal. That's when the lander makes first communications contact, sending critical health and flight data into Nova Control. And we want to bring you closer to our Mission Operations Center to experience a few types of information that flight controllers are looking at during the mission. This particular screen is called the Deorbit Descent and Landing, or DDL screen. This screen is primarily used by the mission director and landing system experts. It's used primarily while Nova Sea orbits the moon and through landing. The top right images of the moon are called the lunar tactical view. When the dots turn red, the lander is on the far side of the moon, and green is on the near side. The line is the tail where Nova Sea is, with each dot representing 10 minutes of elapsed time. The acceleration sensed portion of the screen shows raw acceleration values from Novasea's inertial measurement unit. This is used a lot during burn maneuvers and is a more robust way of measuring acceleration over time with the ability to look back at what has happened. For some reason, flight controllers have lost data. Finally, the column on the right is a received, accepted, edited, and failed pre-checked, or RAFE chart for short. When each of these lines are on top of each other, that's a good indication that Novasea's navigation system is in good health. That's because every measurement Novasea makes must be received, accepted, edited, or failed pre-check. The failure is a possible outlier of data that the lander's computer automatically knows is bad information. Collectively, the DDL screen is one of many data displays that flight controllers are monitoring to successfully navigate Novasea to the lunar surface. It's no small feat, and the tireless effort of our entire Intuitive Machines team has brought us to this moment, standing by for launch vehicle separation and acquisition of signal in approximately 40 minutes. Until then, we'll toss back to Megan with more on the challenges that lie ahead of the IM-1 mission.
Yeah, we've been honest about it. You know how difficult it is to get to the moon. We haven't done it in more than 50 years, but the CLPS initiative is going to change that. NASA and American companies who have teamed up to explore the moon know a lot of research needs to happen before astronauts head back to the lunar surface. In the end, the rewards outweigh the risks.
Landing on the moon is hard. We're going back. Under this Artemis program, we're going to be sending humans to the moon for the first time since Apollo. So ahead of humans, we want to get up as much science exploration and technology experiments as possible.
So CLPS starts facilitating a lot of the early science, the things we want to learn before we even send humans. CLPS stands for Commercial Lunar Payload Services, CLPS.
The services part is the key element. Ordinarily, when NASA delivers a payload to the surface of the moon, they do it with a commercial partner, but NASA controls the building of the vehicle. Now, we're buying the service of delivery of our lunar payloads to the surface of the moon.
It is a delivery service, akin to a delivery service that you'd have here on Earth.
NASA will provide payloads to a commercial company. They decide how to get it to the moon. They have to develop their own lander, but they also have to manage the entire end-to-end mission.
It's meant to provide affordable, rapid, frequent access to the lunar surface through American companies.
We're funding different companies.
We have commercial companies that are competing to win task orders to deliver our payloads to the surface of the moon.
One of the goals when we started CLPS was to help establish a lunar economy.
Somebody has to do it first, and then it becomes commercially available. Then they're able to crank them up. Then they're able to make it more affordable. And so the lunar surface is just the next frontier for a commercial environment.
But we had to acknowledge up front, all the way through the highest levels of the agency leadership, that some of them will fail. These missions may not be as successful as a traditional NASA mission.
We have accepted the risk that going through this innovative approach with these commercial companies, that there could be some failures. Some of them are new companies. None of them have ever successfully landed on the surface of the moon. So they're going to learn lessons.
We need to give our vendors the opportunity to learn.
And so that'll help ultimately buy down our risk as these companies learn, okay, what does it take to actually build up the lunar lander, integrate payloads, get to the lunar surface and land safely.
They've been able to demonstrate that they have very, very good technical depth and the ability to design and execute missions. We're willing to take more shots on goal. And we aren't risking human life. And in the big picture, if we're flying missions at 1/10 of the cost of a NASA mission and we fail 2 of them, we still get 8 missions for that same price.
Even with 1 or 2 or 3 failures, this is still a very economical proposition. It's a risk posture which is more risk tolerant than NASA is accustomed to. There's not a single one of these companies that's willing to bet their mission on a coin toss. Every one of them is doing what they can in order to have the most successful mission possible. But the important thing to realize is that risk tolerant does not mean risky. And the rewards are a long-term ability to get payloads to the moon inexpensively, frequently, and rapidly.
We want science, so we can then put more of our resources on even more science, exploration, and technology payloads and get more of a return on investment when we get to the moon.
CLPS provides tremendous benefit across the scientific and economic communities.
So there's a lot we'd like to learn about the moon to help human habitation and prepare us for missions to Mars and beyond.
So the moon is the first step.
Flying on commercial missions will mean cost savings for NASA. To talk more about that, we have Joel Kearns here now. He's the Deputy Associate Administrator for Exploration in NASA's Science Mission Directorate. It's a very good morning, Joel. We just saw launch.
Oh, beautiful launch. Fantastic. It's great to be back here, Megan.
Yeah, perfect. So, how does NASA maintain oversight when it comes to this, the CLPS vendors? Obviously, this is a new initiative for us.
Yeah. Well, remember, what we're doing here is NASA is not doing these missions. We're actually buying passage on commercial companies' missions for our experiments and our cargo. So we have established this group of pre-certified 14 U.S. companies that we can go to and have them bid to do a specific mission for us, to land at a certain place of the moon, and to bring our cargo or our experiments with it. Once we actually select the company to do that, we assign them a NASA engineer who's their liaison. They represent all the NASA cargo and payloads to the company, and they represent the company back to NASA. As part of that, we get a lot of insight into how the company is actually going to do their mission. We try to make sure they really understand what they need to do to make our cargo successful, our data come back from the moon. And then we continuously learn from that, and we feed back and make sure that all 14 of those companies are certified to be able to do this work.
So a very collaborative effort. And we're talking a lot about a commercial lunar economy. That's kind of the end goal. So how does that shape up with CLPS? How do we get there?
A couple of different aspects. When you hear us talk about wanting to form a lunar or a cislunar economy, in the short term, what that really means is encouraging the companies to get other non-NASA organizations to pay them to bring their experiments or their cargo on the moon. But it's actually a lot broader than that. Just by offering these contracts to industry and having them build their own missions that we can take a part of, the companies are developing their own, you would think of as a parts and high-tech ecosphere on Earth that's part of the lunar economy. Over the years, they've had to figure out ways to build these robotic landers. In some cases, helping other companies do new advanced high-tech components like rocket engines or fuel tanks or sensors, which didn't even exist 5 or 6 years ago. Of course, we can say now we're talking about small payloads going to the moon from commercials or having suppliers on Earth, but what the goal is in the long term is for these CLPS companies to be able to take to the moon work or goods or services of other bigger companies that just want to do work in space.
So what would you say is the agency's confidence in CLPS? You laid out a very ambitious vision.
Yeah. Well, we think that the benefits of having this be successful, where we go out to companies, and in effect, we pay for a service to get our things to the moon, it's just so positive that we really are committed to exercising this model and seeing how American business does. Now, NASA is a learning organization, so at every attempt that the companies make, we're always looking at. We're trying to learn from that and figure out how we're going to adjust things to go forward to do next. But we're really committed to this public-private partnership and service model that we've embarked on.
Joel, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Okay, so the fifth NASA technology we want to dive deeper into is called ROLSYS, which stands for Radio Wave Observations at the Lunar Surface of the Photoelectron Sheath. There's going to be a quiz on that later, so I hope you all took that down. ROLSYS will use 4 antennas and a low-frequency radio receiver system to determine how nearby radio emissions from the Sun, Earth, and other planets could interact or interfere with science conducted on the moon. This experiment is something that has never been done before. It will perform many tests, including detecting solar radio bursts, radio emissions from Jupiter, and dust impacting the surface of the moon. ROLSYS could even serve as a baseline for a future radio observatory on the lunar surface. Let's get another update from Josh Marshall, who's standing by live at Intuitive Machines headquarters in Houston. Josh.
Hey Megan, when I asked our mission directors about what should I expect from launch vehicle separation on until about AOS, and they said, well, we're just going to be patiently waiting. And after 4 years of hard work to get to this point, this must feel like an eternity. Let's take a live look into Nova Control. For some of the folks working today's launch and acquisition of signal shift, they've been working on the IM-1 mission since before we were awarded the task order back in 2019. Even folks that started in the past couple years or the past few months have poured their hearts and minds into this IM-1 mission. In fact, every Thursday, Intuitive Machines holds a lunch and learn for folks to learn more about the company. And just a few days ago, one of our flight controllers, Brooklyn Herman, was describing today's events and said the opportunity to land on the moon has been a dream for her whole life. And everyone at Intuitive Machines is part of this beautiful mission, an incredible opportunity. And while we do have a moment just in between launch vehicle separation, we want folks at home to know that that same sentiment echoes through everyone at Intuitive Machines. We are humbled by the gravity of our mission, yet emboldened by the boundless possibilities that lie ahead, starting with acquisition of signal, which we expect to happen just a few minutes after launch vehicle separation. For now, our team will continue to patiently wait and toss it back to Florida to introduce another IM-1 mission payload. Megan?
Well said, Josh. Okay, so the sixth and final payload has 3 telescopes that will help the spacecraft land safely. In the past, astronauts had to use a viewfinder or rely on radar.
So the Artemis program is taking NASA back to the moon, and everything that goes there, including the instruments and people, must be flown there safely and landed there precisely. So the landing phase of that task is one of the most critical aspects of it. NDL is a LiDAR instrument that is used to enable that capability. It uses light in the same way that sonar uses sound. For NDL, we have 3 telescopes where light will come out of the telescope, hit the moon's surface, and some of that light will be reflected back. These telescopes are mounted on the outside of a vehicle so you get a clear view of the ground as it's coming in for a landing. In the Apollo era, large radars or astronauts using their eyes looking out of a viewport were used to help land the vehicles. NDL is going to have to take the burden off of the crew with a much smaller, lower power, and more accurate instrument.
Throughout the broadcast, we showed you each of the 6 NASA instruments that are bound for the moon. To talk more about those is NASA project scientist Deborah Needham. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Beautiful launch.
A beautiful launch. So exciting.
So now we have 6 payloads bound for the moon. Is there a common theme among them?
I would say there are 2 themes to the payloads on board Intuitive Machines, the Odysseus lander. The first is demonstrating technologies for enabling future spacecraft to land more safely and more precisely on the lunar surface. And the second is characterizing the surface of the lunar South Polar region, which is an extremely challenging environment to operate in, and it's preparing us for sending humans to the lunar surface in advance of the Artemis missions.
Mm-hmm. So very precise things they're being sent for to study. So, if they make it to the moon in 8 days, what happens next for each of them?
So even the payload's work starts even before they get to the moon. Intuitive Machines, while it's transiting towards the moon, will turn on the NASA payloads to make sure that they survived launch and are operating as we expect. And then you've heard about the RFMG, the radio frequency mass gauge. It will be operating the entire time all the way to the moon and down to the surface to make sure that it's monitoring propellants and collecting the data that it needs to achieve its missions. And then during descent, you heard about NDL, the navigation Doppler LiDAR, and SCALPs. They're going to be operating during descent and collecting their data. And then once on the moon, Intuitive Machines will turn on our other NASA payloads, and they'll take turns collecting data until they achieve their missions.
How are these instruments selected?
Early on in the CLIPS initiative, NASA turned to our scientists at the NASA centers to identify science payloads and technologies that were relatively mature in their designs. We did that because we wanted the payloads to be ready for when the landers were ready to integrate them onto the landers and deliver them to the moon. So then NASA turned to the vendors and said, okay, you pick from this pre-selected list of NASA payloads which ones you think you can successfully integrate onto your landers and deliver to the moon. So Intuitive Machines actually chose the payloads that are on its delivery.
Deb, thank you so much. I can't wait to see what we discover with these payloads.
Me too. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, so now we're going to step aside while we await our next big milestone, the second burn of the second stage of the Falcon 9 rocket. And then right after that, the separation of Intuitive Machines' lunar lander from that second stage. We are expecting that to happen about 20 minutes from now, so we will see you then.
25th century AD. We sat there and looked at a rocket from Mars, and you just boggled the mind and mind and mind and mind. And the technology caught up to them.
right at Charlie, clear for takeoff.
For
runway 28 right at Charlie, clear for takeoff.
For a high-stress, high-stakes career,
Foxtrot Papa is on frequency.
It all starts here.
Left turns, expect further clearance.
The Air Traffic Control Academy in Oklahoma City is full as the FAA pushes to staff up understaffed towers and centers. The FAA says it needs 1,300 more controllers. The controllers union says 3,500 are needed. The FAA is struggling to keep up with mandatory retirements at 56. How long will it take you to get to full staffing?
Our goal is 5 to 7 years to be fully staffed and comfortable.
Every year, 1,500 new students go through the academy. It's here the controller candidates are trained for either the control tower or an in-route center, handling air traffic at 18,000 feet or above. The students who seem to do the best are often video gamers. What is it about gaming skills that could make you a good controller?
The ability to take in all of that information quickly, make a quick decision, and then if that decision's not the right one, being able to come up with a plan B or plan C.
But the academy washout rate is high, 30%. After the academy, up to 3 years of on-the-job training, where another 30% quit, often over stress and long shifts working weekends and holidays. 2019 graduate Janessa Milners now controls Los Angeles airspace.
It was one of the most intense things I've done in my life. Just because you're trying so hard to make it through.
Falcon 7350 hotel, go around.
The simulations as real as possible.
Now's the time to make mistakes, right? Don't be nervous, okay? Just follow through with everything, okay?
Tower, Delta 80, ready for departure.
Tabletop exercises teach spacing and runway orientation. The FAA is also recruiting veteran military controllers and college program grads who go straight to on-the-job training.
To think 3 to 4 to 5 steps ahead. That is the type of person that it takes to do this job.
In a business with little room for error, every detail matters. Tom Costello, NBC News, Oklahoma City.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow
A pregnant stingray's ultrasound. That's what you're looking at, and it's because Charlotte. A pregnant stingray's ultrasound. That's what you're looking at, and it's because Charlotte, the stingray who lives in the North Carolina aquarium, well, she doesn't have an obvious baby daddy. You see, the aquarium doesn't have any male rays, and Charlotte hasn't shared a tank with one in over 8 years, but she does share that tank with 2 young male sharks, and caretakers noticed that she was covered in bite marks, and apparently sharks get kind of rough when they mate. So Charlotte is due within the next 2 weeks. We should have some solid answers soon, but I can't wait for those solid answers. So who do I call? I call Forrest Galante, wildlife expert and biologist, and today, I guess, the stand-in for Maury Povich.
Yeah, you got it.
What is going on here? I mean, like... First of all, I've been Googling a lot, and I don't want to show the images, but from a mechanic standpoint, can like a...
It is possible, yeah, believe it or not, especially with small benthic sharks. There are 2 small benthic male sharks in that aquarium. It is possible for copulation to take place. Anatomically speaking.
Anatomically speaking.
Yes, okay. Absolutely.
And so does that mean that the sharks would come, like, because I'm looking at these pictures, and I've actually seen you post videos of sharks doing it.
I have indeed.
And it just seems like a crazy, like, wrestling match. So the stingray would be on the bottom?
Yeah, so there would be this wrapping around sensation where there'd be, yeah, it's graphic. The animals' bodies would become intertwined, and then the male, which has a hemipenis, actually 2 penises, would then insert into the female's cloaca. Which is a very graphic way of saying it's sort of this dance. It sounds gross. It's actually pretty beautiful. But I don't know if anybody's ever seen a stingray and a shark going at it. So this is a whole different story we got.
So do you think that this is what happened? We're going to see this mutant, or do you think that something else is going on?
Well, Gotti, there's really 3 options here. Okay, so the first one is the one that we've just discussed, which is this crazy hybridization, interspecies relationship. The second is something that sharks, rays, and some reptiles are capable of doing, which is sperm retention. So if there was a male in with that female stingray some 8+ years ago, believe it or not, if they had mated 8 years ago, that female would be capable of retaining the sperm and putting out offspring 8 years later. But it's highly, highly unlikely because that's a very, very long
expiration date on that sperm is probably not 8 years.
Exactly.
So what's the third option?
So the third, and I think most interesting option, is a process called parthenogenesis. So parthenogenesis is an evolutionary adaptation that some creatures have developed to basically save the species. So when a female is isolated, a female of a shark, a ray, some species of reptile are isolated with no males for long enough, something sort of triggers in their brain and goes, hey, we got to save the species. If I don't reproduce, the species is going to dry up and disappear. And parthenogenesis kicks in, which is basically a clone where the mother will produce a female clone offspring of herself, or several in some cases, in hopes of those offspring, which are perfectly fertile, going out and hopefully finding a mate to mate.
So like virgin birth, or if I remember Jurassic Park, like life finds a way.
Finds a way. That's right, Gotti.
So wild.
It's a fantastic process.
When we find out about the birth is going to happen, it's going to pop out, and we will have conclusive answers then. But are we going to be able to study the genome? Are we going to learn about the genes?
Yeah, we should be able to tell. I mean, if it were some sort of hybrid, it would be very, very clear immediately that this is something, looks like a guitar.
Admiral Rama needs funds to keep her cause afloat. How about we arrange some donations from the DMC? Seems like you're starting to get the hang of things. Is said to have a dark past, Captain. I've heard that the shipwright Jadadeski was there once, before it became a playground for spirits. can't expect to reach greatness unless you're prepared to lose it all. I was tested once and failed.
That warship's carrying something special! What is it? What is it? What be that, Captaini? Yes, over there! What is it? Once we go to the shore, it's right way. Don't waste a moment! Raise them safe! Bring your shits in! Sail down, people! That's it! Sweet! Là, a foundry! Do we need refining?
The mega corporations think they own the Indian Ocean. That's why we pirates need to remind them who rules the seas.
I can see the storm cloud! vehicles. Don't waste a moment! Raise them safe!
Nobody calls it that.
It now belongs to us!
What be that, Captaini?
Mama needs funds to keep her cause afloat. How about we arrange some donations from the DMC? We're coming into our own, eh?
Music's too loud. I did it. I just noticed. I just turned it down.
They're crying.
Hello, Ray's chat.
Excuse you? First of all, my viewers are deaf, so they wouldn't say that it's loud. That's messed up. Actually messed up.
It's too quiet. It's too loud. It's too quiet. It's too loud. Listen, I've seen it happen real time. Know what it's like? Yeah, we added a little competition aspect to it.
This is messed up.
It's so
also,
pretty.
It is very. Oh my god, Ray.
Yeah, you got
It's
it.
extra messed up because Twalt brought macaroons as well, and you know I hate those. You don't like macaroons? No, we love macaroons in this household.
Test.
The problem is, I can't. How am I supposed to resist? Oh my god.
Well, you gotta show them, I feel like, because it's so pretty.
You gotta show the box.
Yeah, you do have to show it. It's so pretty.
The box is special.
Oh, the noise gate is off now.
Really? Oh my goodness, it's beautiful.
Yeah. She got so many of them. It's not capturing it, but it's okay. But it's beautiful.
See how they're both like, they look like they're going to church?
We do.
It looks like it's Easter morning.
On any Sunday, here will be.
Well, no.
Oh my god, I missed.
Okay. That is a little crazy, but all right.
Easter morning. You know what was messed up? What she did? What? The chat, not my chat. The chat was saying, music's too loud, and Myung goes, okay, I turned it down, sorry, Ray's chat. Yeah, no, straight out the gates,
Tell us how
she
you
came
really
out
feel.
swinging.
Tell us how you really
Came out
feel.
swinging.
It's just whenever Ray's streaming, there's always someone commenting that, and she's always like, okay, I'm fixing it. Is it too loud? Music's too loud. I did it. I just noticed. I just turned it down.
They're crying.
Hello, Ray's chat.
Excuse you? First of all, my viewers are deaf, so they wouldn't say that it's loud. That's messed up. Actually messed up.
It's too quiet. It's too loud. It's too quiet. It's too loud. Listen.
Did you see that? Look at this thing.
Okay, let me just hit respawn.
It licks my face. Well,
What are you doing?
What is she doing?
Oh my god, I opened up her stream and she's just making out with a pal.
I'm not making out with it, but it is licking my face in all of its entirety. I will not lie. This thing is...
Leslie. She's just letting this thing lick her whole forehead. That was wild.
Did you see that? Look at this thing.
Okay, let me just hit respawn.
I just parked it. Sorry. Wait. I'll go there. I'll go there. Shit. Oh, sorry, audience. Wait. I'll go there, bro. Insurance, and we're gonna call the police because that's a $20,000 rear bumper you just hit. Insurance. Yeah, bro, don't worry.
Well, first I was like, is there a fire? So I run around and I'm like smelling for smoke and I'm like, no smoke. Okay. I was like, okay, this happened before. It was basically, I think it was just like the power tripping. So then it freaked out, and then it like, the power of the fire alarms, like, you know, was like, so didn't know what to do. So then, okay, but it's still scary because you're like, well, it could be a fire. What if it is? Well, there's a secret fire. So I was going downstairs, upstairs. I was like, everyone was freaking out. Elam's a guest at our house right now. So he's like, wait, what's happening? Myung's like, she's like barely walking out of her room. Like, she's like, what's happening? Ray's like, Tina's like, I have a sponsor right now. And I was like, power through it. I was like, how close are you? She's like, I have an hour left. I'm Tekken. And I was like, play it. Don't, you just, you know, you'll be fine. She's like, okay, is there a fire? So everyone like met for a second. Admiral Rama needs funds to keep her cause afloat. How about we arrange some donations from the DMC? Kamoya State is said to have a dark past, Captain. I've heard that the shipwright Tadadeski was there once, before it became a playground for spirits.
Wars have been fought over which kind of durian is best. Admiral Rama needs funds to keep her cause afloat. How about we arrange some donations from the DMZ? Seems like you're starting to get the hang of things.
Winds aren't kind today.
Every crew wants a captain like that.
How much nutmeg can I get for a pound?
I'll take the sampan over the schooner anytime. If only someone could give me some fucking coin, eh? How about...
I would say take your time, but I do not mean it. So, my best work. But who gives a flying shit? Perhaps I'm the first to say this, but time is going, Captain. Back already? Take it slow. I have nowhere else to be. We're not getting any younger standing here. We should go.
Thought that was you. Sticking around, eh? This place gets its hooks in you.